Alpha Conversations. I'm Jamie. I'm on the leadership team here, and we are excited that you are joining us here this Friday night. We want to help you discover who you are and connect with God through meaningful conversations. As you can see, we are starting a new series called Related. Everybody say Related. All right, so I'm excited. I have the opportunity to share with you tonight, and a crazy thing is happening in my life 2 weeks from now. All right, in 2 weeks from today, my daughter is going to turn 16. All right, sweet 16. All right, so and she is a total teenager. All right, so I can remember the day where she kind of became a teenager, not because of age, but because of attitude, right? You know, so my daughter, she used to play volleyball at UNY. All right, and so about 3 years ago, I take her to GOR, at UNY, at the big gymnasium there, but it was empty. No one was in there, and they were having practice outside behind the GOR building. So I drive the car around, I park the car, we get out of the car, and all of the girls are already there practicing. And we start walking towards the practice, and she goes, "That's okay, you don't need to go with me." And I was like, "Oh, that's no problem, I'll go with you." And she's like, "No, you really don't have to go with me, all right?" And I was like, "What?" It was like at that moment, I was like, "I'm cool, I am cool, like I'm cooler than you," all right? So, but it was at that moment I realized my little girl was a teenager, all right? And things were changing, all right? Things were changing in our relationship. If you haven't noticed, your relationship with your parents is changing, all right? Your relationship with your parents is changing. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about every week this month, we're going to talk about different relationships. How do we relate to these different things? And tonight, I want to talk about that your relationship with your parents is changing. Or I should say, it better be changing, all right? Like it should be different now than when you were 10 years old, or especially when you were 5 years old, all right? Otherwise, that's a different conversation for us to have, all right? Well, here's the challenge for you tonight. You're kind of in that middle zone between childhood and adulthood, right? You're in that between zone between independence and dependence, right? Like we all want to be healthy, independent adults. But for most of us, your parents still pay for your school, right? So it's hard to be independent, be like, "I'm an independent man. Mom and Dad, can I have some more money?" Like it's aher bulan, I'm hungry, like I'm out of money, all right? So I hear so many young people complain about their parents, while their parents pay for their coats, their food, their schooling, and some of them, even their motorbikes. I always think it this way: as long as you're accepting money from your parents, they still have a right to tell you what to do, all right? But can I tell you a little secret about healthy parenting? The goal of good parenting is to see their child mature into adulthood, live independently, and relate socially, all right? That's the goal of healthy parenting. Oh, we have it on the screen. Good, all right. That's why you guys all looked down. I thought you were all sad. You all looked down, all right? So, all right, the goal of a good parent, a healthy parent would say, hey, my goal is to raise a child who can mature into adulthood, live independently, and relate socially. That they want to see, a good parent wants to see you become a healthy adult, to grow up, to not be immature, but to be mature, to be independent, that you're not depending on them for your food, your future, your finances, but you live independent, and to relate socially. Every parent wants to have a growing relationship with their child. So it's not just the parent telling the child what to do, but parents want to have a good relationship, almost like a social relationship with their adult children. So that's the goal of a good parent. Now, I realize in this room, man, we're all coming from different backgrounds and different experiences. And so some of you, man, you will have a totally different experience than the person sitting next to you. That's why I say that's the goal of healthy parents. I realize some of us didn't grow up in a healthy atmosphere. And so maybe this talk tonight might be a little more emotional for you. It might hit different for you. So let me share with you kind of the five stages of the child or the parent-child relationship, all right? And then we'll focus on why I believe you're in the most important stage of all, okay? The 5 stages. Number 1 is this: dependence. This is that first stage, all right? This is obvious, right? Stage 1, dependence. That's like your childhood, right? When you're born, you need your parents, right? And as you go through like TK and SD, man, you expect your parents to provide everything for you. You expect them to take care of you, to pay for your schooling, to feed you, to clothe you. Those are some of those things. When you're born, you can't really take care of yourself. So the child relies entirely on parents for basic needs, love, and security. Perhaps parents provide guidance and discipline and emotional support. Strong attachments are formed, shaping the children's sense of trust and safety. Now, recently, I had the opportunity to do a life map, all right? I was in this leadership course, and it was like a very... Tasha loved it. I thought it was boring. All right, but what we did is you had this long piece of paper, and you would timeline your life. Okay, you'd either do it by age or by grade. All right, and then you had Post-it notes, and you'd write an experience from your childhood and put it on the timeline. Like, oh, in 2nd grade, this happened. Bam. What are your most vivid memories of your childhood? You'd put on this timeline, on this map. And as I was putting all mine on there, you were supposed to put like good memories in yellow Post-its and bad memories in blue. But almost all my memories were yellow. Like I realized, like, man, I had a great childhood. Like, man, yeah, I'm sure bad things happened, but I don't remember any of them. I had a really good childhood. And so then the leader of the discussion, they said, why don't you label your timeline? What title would you give your timeline? And so I wrote down secure. Because for my childhood, man, my mom and dad, man, they provided for me a very secure childhood. My dad worked. My mom was my mom. That was a full-time job, all right? So I just had this stable, secure child. I grew up with a lot of friends. I never felt bullied. I just had a great childhood. But so I felt loved and secure in my home. But I realize not all of you had that same kind of childhood. And can I tell you that if you didn't grow up in a secure family, man, I'm sorry. Can I tell you it's not your fault? Can I tell you that your past doesn't have to define your future? Your past doesn't have to define your future. I realize when we talk about childhood, man, some of us come from broken homes. Some of us come from abusive homes. Some of us lost a father or a mother when we were a child, and we had to grow up much faster than other people. Some of us grew up in poverty, and it's a miracle that you're even here on this Friday night. So I want to just say your past doesn't have to define your future. You can find forgiveness and hope. Join a core group. If you don't know what a core group is, ask your Chi Alpha leader. All right. Stage 2. Stage 1 is dependence. Stage 2, exploration. Exploration. All right. You're an explorer. This stage of life consists of asserting independence and making your own decisions. Right. This is the stage of life you are in right now. Exploration, all right? Every day you have the choice. What time should I go to sleep? And I've seen on some of your WhatsApps, it'll say like 2:30 a.m. All right, I'm like, what were you doing on WhatsApp? All right, at that hour. All right. So you have the choice what time you should go to, what you should eat, what friends you should hang out with. Should you go to Chi Alpha or not? All right. How long should you play video games? Should I watch one more reel before I go to sleep? All those you have this growing independence as a university student. But here's what also happens in this life stage. Conflicts start to happen between child and parent, right? Conflicts happens because you're trying to gain more independence, right? But your parents, they still expect you to follow the rules of their house or their parenting. Man, I remember when I was a university student, when I was a mahasiswa, man, I hated going home during semester break. Because I lived in the coast, right? So I had freedom. I could stay up. I could go to sleep. I had that freedom. And then when I went home for semester break, I didn't have that freedom. Now I was living under my parents' rules again. When I was a student, when I was in the coast, oh yeah, I was free. But now under my parents' roof, my dad would always say, my house, my rules. That's how my dad lived. So man, there was that tension that living in that in between of this independent but yet dependent. I wanted to be my own man. I wanted to be my own person, but I still needed money from my parents. All right. So you're in this age of exploration, kind of exploring who you are and who you'll be. And that's why I think Friday nights are so important to me, because that's what we want to discuss in these settings, right? To help you discover who you are, to figure out, man, who has God made me to be? I'm growing into the person He's created me. I'm exploring who He's created me to be. In this stage of your life, healthy parenting shifts from direct control to guidance, allowing the child to learn responsibility. Good parenting, now some of you have this and some of you don't. I understand that. But someday, hopefully, inshallah, you'll all be parents, right? And so a good parent, a healthy family starts moving from direct control, like you will be home, to guidance. What time would you like to be home tonight? 2 a.m. I think that's a bad idea, right? But you go from direct control to guidance. Here's why I believe this is why I believe you're in the most important stage of your life. Right now, your life is full of potential, not problems. Right now, your life. Now, some of you guys are saying, "Man, Jamie, I'm full of problems." All right, but right now, you've not made life decisions that you have to regret. Right now, it's full of potential. Man, your whole life is in front of you. When you get to the other stages of life, man, you're dealing with problems. Oftentimes people will ask me, man, Jamie, why do you still work with young people? And I'm like, because I don't want to work with old people like you. All right. But I'll say, because young people, when I talk with young people, man, you're still full of potential. When I talk to people my age, they're full of problems, all right? And so understand that right now your life is full of potential. So the decisions you make today about friendship, dating, studying, faith, all these things are full of potential. So if you make the right and godly decisions now, you'll be much further ahead than your friends who make destructive and bad decisions. Your life is full of potential right now. Potential for good and potential for bad. Stage number 3, independence. Independence. If you look around the room, there's some of the IEC staff here. They're in that stage right now. I'll never forget the day that I graduated from SDUA, and I got my first full-time job, and I got my first gaji. I got my first check. It was the greatest day of my life and the worst day of my life, all right? It was great because, man, I was making my own money, right? This is my money. But now I'm spending my own money, right? Like it's not my parents' money. This is my money, right? When it was my parents' money, I could buy whatever, right? But now, So it was both the greatest day and the worst day for me. So this stage is often called adulting. All right, perhaps you've heard of that. All right, this is what we call adulting. All right, if exploration is the most important stage, I think the independent stage is actually the hardest stage of life. And all the staff say amen. All right. They're all the 20 and 30 somethings are like, amen. It is hard. All right. So stay in school as long as you can. All right. Some of you guys are like, what is it called? Mahasiswa Abadi? You know? Is that what it's called? All right. Your relationship, when we talk about your parents, your relationships move from they start to move towards mutual respect and friendship. You begin to see I love this part. When you're adulting, you begin to see your parents as real people. You know, like before they were just like humans that gave you stuff. All right, they were just but now you start learning their dreams for their life and what life was like for them when they were young people. As a young adult, you may still rely on your parents for advice, but you're making your own decision, right? And a healthy parent wants to move from authority to supporter, right? A healthy parent wants to move from an authority to giving support. From giving, they want to give guidance when needed. That's what a healthy parent wants to see. Remember at the beginning, wants to see you become a mature adult. So parents at this stage, when you're adulting, when you become independent, now they're there for guidance and advice. Stage number 4, maturity. Maturity. Now here's what happened to me in my 30s, okay? That decade from 30 to age 40, a lot of things happened. I switched careers. I moved to Indonesia. I started a business, the IEC. I started Chi Alpha. I had 2 children. Well, my wife had the kids, but I should say I became a father 2 times. And I learned a new language. I learned how to berbahasa Indonesia, all right? So all of that happened in my 30s, all right? What an incredible decade for me. I feel like in my 30s, that's when I kind of moved from independence to now maturity. Now, I don't know if you ever feel mature, but having 2 kids and a job makes you feel very mature. It makes you feel very grown up, I should say. You have to grow up really quick. So here's what happens in this stage of life with your relationship with your parents. You start seeing them more as equals. I mean, they're still your parents, but you start learning about their past and their history and what makes them a unique person. Your parents become more, this is what I wrote in my notes, they become more 3-dimensional. Right? Before that, they're more like 2-dimensional, meaning they're kind of flat. They live and they give me stuff, all right? And they tell me what to do, and then I rebel against it, and then I say I'm sorry, all right? So, but now they're more 3-dimensional. I see their emotions. I understand what they've gone through. And healthy parenting moves towards companionship, enjoying a friendship with their adult children. And I think every parent wants that with their children, to have a friendship, a healthy relationship with their kids. Then we get to stage 5, role reversal. Role reversal. I hope none of you ever get this call, but in early October, my wife Tasha got a call from her dad that her mother was sick and she needed her help. So on October 5th, my wife Tasha flew back to America to see what was wrong with her mom. It was supposed to be a 2-week trip. Well, Tasha's been in America now for 5 months. What happened is when Tasha got back to America, her mom was so sick that they had to check her into the hospital. And for the next 10 weeks, Tasha was in the hospital with her mom every day, taking care of her. And her mom's health just went down and down and down and down. And in this last stage, stage 5, is where we start to see the role reversal, where the child begins to take care of the parent. So if any of you have wondered where Tasha's been, she's been there. First, she was taking care of her mother, and on December 11th, her mother passed away, and now she's taking care of her dad, helping him grieve through the process. So that's why she hasn't been around, but Chi Alpha Conversation is actually her favorite thing that we do here. So I want you to see that in life there comes this role reversal, that eventually the child starts taking care of the parent. As parents age, the children become caregivers, and you help with their health and daily needs. And I do feel like if you want to succeed in stage 5, you have to succeed in stage 2. The stage that's not a note. All of you guys are like, why are you write that down? But meaning this season of exploration. The scriptures say, honor your father and mother, and you will have a long and healthy life. Learning how to honor your parents now. Now, it doesn't say obey your parents, because eventually you'll have to make your own decisions. But this idea of honor, if you honor your parents now, it's going to make all the difference in stage 3, stage 4, and eventually, when the roles are reversed, it'll make the difference in stage 5. Right now, as a young person, you're laying the foundation for your future relationship with your parents. Yeah, right now there's tension and the conflict, and you want to grow up and be your own person, but the foundation you lay now, you will build on in the future. Here's your big idea tonight. You are living in the tension between honor and obedience. You are living in the tension between honor and obedience. Is there a difference between honor and obedience? That's what I want you to talk about tonight. Let's talk about it. Thanks, guys, for being here tonight.